It's back to school 2020 and it's time to get real. So let's get real and talk about how to get in the right frame of mind and how to plan some great activities for yourself and your kids. For the best ideas in arts integration and SEAL, social emotional artistic learning, subscribe to the Inspired Classrooms channel and hit the bell to be notified when we drop a new video. I'm Elizabeth Peterson. Let's get started. This school year is unlike any other, and because of that, we have to approach it like no other before. And I'm here today to give you some real talk about this whole situation. In this video, I want to do a couple of things. First, I want to chat with you about how to approach this year overall, especially as we begin navigating all these new waters. Next, I want to talk about some lesson and activity strategies that you can use as you plan that will really make your life a little bit easier. Finally, I'm going to hone in on the KISS principle in the hopes that you can really make this an inspiring year for yourself and for your students. Okay, let's get real by talking about this year overall. Here are the 3 key words I want you to think about with this. 1, expectations, 2, flexibility, and 3, questioning. First, expectations. You're going to need to modify your expectations for this year. Things are just not the same, and you'll need to adapt and modify and change. In some cases, even lower your expectations. You'll not be able to do everything that you've done in the past, and that's okay. The key here is to be easy on yourself. We may have had a trial run in this new way of teaching back in the spring, but this year is going to be different. All eyes are on us, and while that may make you want to exceed expectations, you want to make sure that you're doing so in the right places. So exceed your expectations when it comes to empathy for others, for your students, for their families, for your colleagues, and yes, even your administration. Let's not forget that we are still in a pandemic and stress is all around us in so many ways. Exceed your expectations in communication. Put your effort into communicating with families and with your students. Get them on board and build those relationships. That is what's going to make this year a success. Exceed your expectations in how you care for you. Really, when it's time to go home or shut off your computer, do it. Take your weekends for personal time, and if you want to work outside of school hours, consider scheduling it or limiting it so that it doesn't linger in the background, like that pile of laundry that no one wants to deal with. It's okay to separate your personal time from school time. And if you're teaching remotely, it's going to be really important to do just that. You need that time to take care of you, your family, your personal matters, so that you can be refreshed and ready to give it your all when you put your teacher hat back on. Now let's talk about flexibility. If there was ever a time where you'll need to be flexible, this is the year. You're going to be learning new technology, changing the way your classroom is set up, figuring out different types of scheduling and different types of classwork and paperwork and communication. And this year, expect a lot of twists and turns. Give yourself some slack and maybe lower those expectations on yourself. Take a breath. Think about how you can be flexible and roll with it. Now, before I continue on, you have to understand that I know that can be really hard. When I say these things, I'm actually talking to myself as much as I am to you. Remember, I'm a teacher too, and this coming year has me feeling both optimistic and uneasy for many reasons, and I know it is for you too. I have spoken to and messaged with so many teachers whose feelings are just all over the place, and we really need to remind each other to slow down and give ourselves a chance to be flexible as we figure things out. My third point in talking about this year overall is questioning. Ask questions. Ask questions, get the guidance of your administration, and then make your move. I can't stress this enough. So many educators want to plan ahead and make things happen. And I get it. We are planners. We want to make things successful and happen for ourselves and for our students. But this year needs to be a little bit different. We have new guidelines and regulations that we need to adhere to, and those are changing week by week, if not day by day. So ask questions, get that guidance, and then make your move. See, what we have to remember is that we're dealing with safety. It's not just about best practices in education, it's safety, and dare I say, life and death. I see so many teachers agonizing over how to put their students in groups with homemade barriers and systems for supplies, and the innovation is amazing. Keep in mind, though, that if you don't already understand what your district or your school expects, you could be wasting your time, your energy, and your money. So don't be afraid to ask questions first. Get the answers you need in order to plan for your classroom or your learning space, and then plan for your activities and your lessons. Okay, let's get into the let's get real strategy number 2 and talk about activities and lessons. First and foremost, I suggest that you take things slowly and focus in on activities that are going to build community and relationships first. That is the key to any school year, but this year especially. And it definitely shouldn't just happen at the beginning of the school year, but definitely throughout the entire school year. So consider having some sort of morning meeting each day with your students, or if you only see your kids once a week, maybe give them the first 5 minutes of your class time to build some connections. For example, you could have students share a quick story or an artifact from their home that ties into the subject that you teach. Maybe you can start your class with a song as your students come into your classroom or into your virtual meeting space. I plan to have my students think of a daily intention each morning to get their minds in the right place. And actually, I'm going to do that for myself as well. The key to making something like this work is to make it part of your routine. It may not work perfectly the first couple of times, but keeping at it and helping your students to understand the importance of these small activities will help them to run much more smoothly and go for the long run as well. The next thing you need to consider as you plan your activities and lessons is that they should be easy to do virtually. It's very possible that even if you have some face-to-face learning time, you will also need to go remote at some point. So planning with this in mind could make a big difference for you later. That might mean practicing some apps with your students when you are face-to-face, or putting some time into creating slideshows that are able to be used in a physical classroom or online. You can also explore creating your own instructional videos. Now, these don't have to be something that you need to stress over. Instead, get on camera, demonstrate a concept that you know you're going to be teaching this year. Maybe you can make a video about color or how to create a multiplication array. Creating a short video for your students is a great way to teach them something, as it allows them to watch and rewatch your lesson. And they can also practice the power of the pause button, where they're able to pause the video. Now, this is great because it allows the concept to really sink in, and it gives them the opportunity to write down any questions that they have. Then They can bring their thoughts and their questions to your live, synchronous class time together. One thing I've heard from so many teachers is that they're worried their students won't have the right materials for some of the lessons and the projects that they want to do. I hear ya. That is definitely one of my concerns as well, and we can't take anything for granted. However, this is where creativity can really start to blossom. Freedom in structure. When you have limitations, creativity can abound. You may have experienced that yourself as you prepare for and teach within these new constraints, right? And this can be the same for your students as well. So as you plan for some fun activities and projects like book creating or origami, don't limit students to plain paper. Maybe they have some recycled paper or old magazines that they can use. If you want them to make sculptures but are certain they don't have clay in their homes, you could challenge them to watch this video and make their own Play-Doh. Is there coloring involved in your project but no paint? Well, then share this video with them where I can show them how to make paint at home in 4 different ways. Students can also look for objects in nature or around their homes to create scenes and beautiful sculptures and new textures. No scissors at home? Well, show them how to fold things and tear them really precisely, or they could simply rip paper to make what they want. This could be the thing that allows students to really explore their out-of-box thinking, and you could be the teacher that really helps them to expand their minds. And be sure to check out my how-to playlist on YouTube that you can post inside your classroom and share with your families. It has some great at-home activities students can do and you can use for your projects. Now it's time for the Let's Get Real strategy number 3, the KISS principle. Now, maybe you've heard of this before. KISS stands for Keep It Simple. And yes, I took off the last S. Now, this is probably the most important thing for us to remember. We do not need to complicate things right now. Instead, we need to simplify. So think about it. How can you simplify things for yourself? Will using other people's videos help you out? Then use them. Can you team up with a colleague and plan alternating lessons? Then use some of that teamwork. Can you whittle down the number of apps that you're using to enhance student learning to maybe only 2 or 3 really good ones? You probably should. And can you use and reuse a great activity? Now, this is a favorite of mine. For example, once I show my students how to create a mini book, I can use that many times throughout the year to introduce a topic or have students take notes or create a final project or ask for students' reflections. Having a versatile activity like that is such a huge help. So what are some ways that you can kiss this year into gear? I'd love to hear about how you plan to simplify things for yourself and your students. So please add what you plan to do in the comments below. So there you go. Let's get real. And I mean that. Keep yourself in check so that you can make this a successful year for yourself. There are new standards of success this year, so clear your mind and be ready to take on this new challenge. And if you need some support through this time, like we all do, come and join our Inspiring Teachers community on Facebook, where we will support and encourage one another through these next few months and beyond. I can't wait to welcome you into the group. All right, my name's Elizabeth Peterson. I'm sending you all my best. Take care of yourself.